to our next section, which is our panel of Care Partner support group leaders and a support group member who are going to share their personal journeys as care partners and active members of the Parkinson's community. So I would like to welcome to the podium Carrie Friedman, Gail Gittin, and Ken Wilson. So we are going to ask 3 questions of our panel, and then we're going to open it up for questions. I hope a lot of you are in support groups, but if you're not, this might encourage you to join a support group. We do have care partner specific support groups so that you can really go in and have an open, honest conversation with other people who are experiencing a lot of the same issues that you're experiencing, and can really share their tips and tricks and their wisdom. So I'm going to start with the first question, and it is, why did you start leading a support group or attending a support group? So Ken, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. As things got more complicated in the honeymoon phase of the disease, I sought out a care partner support group. And as I was working at the time in 2016, there was only one choice in the metro region for something after work, and that was the Fourth Wednesday support group that meets at the Scheitler Rec Center near Lakeside Amusement Park up by Sheraton and I-25. In 2018, the then leader, Debbie, came to the conclusion she could that she would have to start working to stay afloat and needed to leave the leadership post. No one else was interested in taking it over. I got the email list from Debbie, set up a Gmail account, and started to try to get phone numbers and names and Parkinson's disease stage for the person with Parkinson's situation for each of the active members to put in the contact list. The why was that I needed the safe environment and space to hear from others and gain perspective on where my person with Parkinson's and I were in the spectrum of the disease. We had a community that needed to continue, not just for my needs, but also for the needs of other members. There has been support, tears, dramatic changes, and deaths in the intervening years. We're reestablishing that after that 6:30 p.m. support group. We finally got permission to have a reservation back at Scheitler, and so we'll be standing it up, and we're meeting this month, not on the 4th Wednesday, but on the 3rd Wednesday. So if you need something after work, we will have something for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail?
Hi, my name is Gail Gittin, and I am a caregiver, or I should say I was a caregiver. My partner, my husband passed away 2 years ago. We were married 52 years. But during our journey, I met up with many wonderful people that were caregivers. And I was really surprised, but I was really interested in attending a caregiver support group. And for any of you who are questioning whether or not that's for you, I have to tell you, it was those girls and men were the greatest gift that I received. You feel like you're in this alone just because you spend a lot of time alone in the house. But when you meet either virtually now with this COVID thing or in person, you have a family that you never realized you needed, and you need them a lot. I am no longer a caregiver, but I will not give up attending caregiver groups. I feel very strongly about the people that are there. I feel like it keeps the memory of my husband alive, of what I've achieved after taking care of him for so many years. It has given me a purpose for all those years. And the camaraderie and support you get in a caregiving work community is unlike anything else. The best thing is you can finally open up to people and say whatever you want to say about your situation. I mean, no matter how horrible it sounds, they accept it because in reality, they have the same feelings. So you are not alone. It relieves you of a lot of guilt, and it gives you a tremendous education. So 3 cheers or 10 cheers for support groups. It's wonderful. And I hope every one of you, whether or not you feel like it's for you, give it a try. But don't only go one time, give it a couple of tries. And you'll see as you meet the same people, you feel you can trust them.
Thank you, Gail. And Carrie.
Hi, this is on. Hi, I'm Carrie Friedman, and I am with Parkinson's Association of the Rockies. I've been with them for 23 years. And during the beginning of the pandemic phase, we were getting inundated with calls that people were feeling lonely and isolated and anxious and depressed because they didn't have people to talk to. So we started an evening support group for people with Parkinson's and their partners. And then I have one that meets twice a month on Mondays, the second and fourth Monday of the month at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's really important that you guys have a chance to reach out and talk and listen. Some people don't actively participate, but they're actively participating by listening. So the groups have continued. It's been 2 years now, and people really like it. And like you were saying, it's just, you could say whatever you want. You could use curse words. You can scream. You can throw out the F-bomb. One lady does that all the time. And, but that's okay because you feel safe in that environment. So we're continuing to do the Zoom meetings, and I'm happy to help if you need anything. You can call the office or call my number on the INR line, and we'll help you out. So I'm glad you all are here.
Thank you. So the second question, and Gail, we'll start with you this time. What is something you have gotten out of support groups?
I think I've touched on it. I've gotten a family that has a connection unlike any other connection. It's very rare that you can find people that are going through just about exactly what you've gone through. These were total strangers, and yet with total strangers, you develop a very, very strong bond. And even though my husband passed away, I refuse to give up that bond. It's a love of these people that you know what they're doing, what they're going through.
Thank you. And Ken?
What I've gotten out of the support group is a safe place to let out the emotions of rage, anger, hopelessness, helplessness, and frustration. It's a grief of loss of self, loss of freedom, loss of the expected future, and the gradual disappearance of the one I loved. The encroachment of cognitive decline and the knowledge that it will only get worse. It's a safe place to talk unreservedly about subjects not normally in the public domain, like constipation, incontinence, and sex. A place where I can witness the strength and fortitude of others, or with partners for whom the disease has progressed beyond the stage that my person with Parkinson's is at, and therefore have an example to be able to know how to respond when that starts happening to me. A place to hear what the problems are, what the solutions are, and how they have adapted and coped. A place to witness the decision-making process when big changes become unavoidable because the manifestation and progression of the disease has placed the care beyond the resources of the care partner, and how the person with Parkinson's and care partner navigate this unavoidable change. That has been a very impressive thing to watch because those decisions are made over months in the support group. You see it happening right in front of your eyes, and then suddenly there is a sigh of relief because the burden is no longer on the care partner exclusively. And it's a place to get information about connecting with the area resources like Davis Finney Foundation, Parkinson's Foundation, Michael J. Fox, and Parkinson's Association of the Rockies and their educational events, webinars. So that's it.
All right, thank you. And Carrie?
Okay, so what I've gotten out of it as a facilitator is that I learn a lot. And, I've been doing this for so long, but every single person is different and unique and copes differently. And so it helped me to help others and to see what people are doing to help each other in the group it's so awe-inspiring. So congratulations for you guys coming today, because it's important that on this journey that you take part in all this information.
Thank you. And then the last question, and we'll start with Carrie this time. So you're a facilitator, which might be a little different, but when you're facilitating, what would you say are the 3 things that you hear the most that people wish they knew before becoming a care partner?
Okay, so when you get married or you're living with your partner, and you pledge to each other that you're going to be there for them in thick and thin, but I don't think that it says that you're going to help with incontinence, helping bathe people, your loved one, helping get up in the middle of the night with them when they're having when they're sleep deprived, when you're sleep deprived, when they're sleeping and lashing out because their sleep center's been disrupted, and you wake up with a black eye and they say, oh, I'm so tired, I didn't sleep at all last night. And you're saying, how come you say that? Because you did sleep, I'm the one that's up. Or when you're having to go into a separate bedroom. Those sort of things are what I think for people that have come up is the incontinence and intimacy issues. And feel free to throw it all out there when you're in the support groups, because what you're thinking and someone else says, it's the same thing. So make sure that you reach out to people in your group.
And then Ken, what are 3 things you wish you knew before you became a care partner?
It's this thing. I wish I knew the fine balance that was needed for covenant relationships of the group. And the absolute rule about privacy, what is said there stays there, can sometimes be difficult, particularly when you run across someone who has the same problem that was just addressed by a person that you kind of have to disguise where you got the information from. Second, the relationship with the person with Parkinson's evolves and is dependent upon which brain cells have died in the cortex. The cognitive decline and seemingly inability to look at a problem and find a path through it at all is becoming present in my life, and I'm having to grieve about that. And finally, the medicines can cause narcoleptic attacks with the result that you become the only driver. We went ahead and totaled up how much support I was having to provide in time and mileage, and we came up with about 24 hours a week and 132 miles. So just to get to the exercise classes that keep my wife going. If she wasn't doing that, it would be much, much worse. So that's it.
Thank you. And then Gail, what are 3 things you wish you knew before you became a care partner?
I wish I knew nothing. I wouldn't have wanted to know what I was in for. Before diagnosis, I wouldn't have believed it. And I was very happy I learned as I went along, because not everyone is ready to hear what you're going to hear. At first, I opened up a Davis Finney book. I read like the first chapter. I closed the book. that's after diagnosis, but before diagnosis, I was very happy to be stupid. Forget about it. If I knew it was coming, well, I love my husband very much. And the thing that I learned is it's not their fault and it's not our fault. He didn't do it on purpose. He didn't spill his meal on purpose. He didn't do this on purpose. And sometimes you forget about it. I'll say something to him and he said, Gail, I didn't do it on purpose. Don't get upset. So you make accommodations. That's all we can do is make accommodations. I used to think no matter what accommodations I made, no matter what I planned to prevent a disaster, it still occurred in a way that I didn't expect. And then I began to realize I can only do the best I can. You can't foresee all these accidents that are happening right in front of you where you could be right there to grab, but you're too late. So be kind to yourself. Take care of yourself physically and emotionally. Don't let yourself go. I'm now a widow of 2 years. I have a wonderful life. I appreciated everything my husband provided for me, which is allowing me to go ahead and recapture who I am, because you don't have a you anymore. Not until you can move on and find out about what you're capable of doing. And if you live through this, you have managed to survive 100% in the worst of circumstances.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So do we have any questions for yes, there's one back there. Annie, I've got the microphone up here.
There are basically two kinds of Parkinson's. There's your standard Parkinson's, for lack of a better term, and then there's young onset. And it seems like they're kind of two different diseases, even though they're under the same umbrella, and the end result's usually the same. Are there any support groups that you know of that are more specific to the young onset group?
Do you want to take that one, Carrie?
Yeah, they're in young onset, for folks that are under the age of 60, there are different needs. Some people are still working, some people have kids, young kids at home, and so we do have a couple support groups, and you can look on our, we have a list on our, in the lobby we have of the support groups.
So there is a list of all of our support groups on the PAR table outside next to the registration table. We do have a young onset support group. And for anyone in the room, I know I've talked to a couple people already. One of our strategic initiatives for 2023 is really to focus on young onset and offer more programs for young onset. And that can mean many different things. It can mean young onset that's recently diagnosed, that, like Carrie said, is still dealing with work, is still dealing with kids, but it can also be young onset that has now been dealing with this for 20 years. And so we will be putting a committee together, and we will be meeting with that committee most likely now in January, since I think we're a little late to do it this year. But if you have any interest in being in that committee and helping us direct programs for people with young onset, please see myself or Annie, and we will get your contact information and get you on that committee. I feel like it's something that we started to do in 2019, the pandemic hit, and it just unfortunately went away. So we are reinstating that initiative. So any other questions for the panel? Of course.
One thing I want to add, I feel that the bond that my husband and I developed because of the disease was much stronger and different. We had a very good marriage, but they developed a bond that was much, much tighter while we were going through this together. I don't know if it happens with everyone, but it was something special
Thank you. Thank you.